Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. I know I haven't posted in a long time, but I am so excited to be back and for my first video back to be an interview with Emily Hagins. She just directed a new movie called Sorry About the Demon and is being released on Shudder on January 19th. So please watch the movie, but I hope you enjoy the interview. Hi everyone, so you've just seen the little intro now, and I'm so excited to start this interview. I have with me someone really funny. I just had a little conversation before we started recording. She is awesome. Please welcome Emily Hagins.
Hello. I've
Hi.
appeared. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's no problem. Thank you for responding.
I just, I don't, I guess like sometimes I just get a vibe from a message online, and I just thought you seemed really nice, and I just thought let's be connected, let's do it. So thanks for having me.
Oh, it's no problem. I mean, the trailer for your new movie coming out, Sorry About the Demon, looks so funny. I'm really excited about it. And I wanted to ask you about how you feel about being the first release for Shudder of like a new release this year, as you feel that it's your movie.
That's funny because I hadn't thought about that. Well, I feel very honored. It was such a pleasure to work with Shudder on this movie and for them to believe in a horror comedy because I know that can be a kind of risky genre combination for people, and everyone has a different sense of comedy and everyone has a different sense of horror. So, it feels like a lot of faith put into this project, and I hope they're happy with it. And I found them to be just wonderful collaborators on the film, and just the best notes you don't really expect as a writer to get really awesome notes from people. You're not like, gee, I just want people to criticize my work. But
Yeah.
their notes were so wonderful, and the feedback I thought made the movie better, so much better. And I just they're delightful, and I feel honored to have worked with them.
So how did you start that connection to be working with Shudder?
Yeah, I worked on a horror comedy anthology called Scare Package that was a Shudder film, and I did the first segment of that. And so since this movie was kind of a combination of the producers of Scare Package and the lead actor from my segment and me, it was kind of like this, oh, here's a lot of the same people from that project coming on board for this one. And so I think that's kind of what the genesis was for that connection.
Hmm. And I did see Scare Package, and I think you have the best segment of all of them.
Thank you.
I was laughing so hard
Oh my
during your
gosh, I love
segment.
that. Well, we have a lot of the same people on board for this one. So if you like that, I hope you'll like this.
Is it a lot of the same? Like, are you going for the same comedy, or would you say maybe a little bit different? Because that's more. Sorry about the Demon is more of a rom com.
Yeah. Yeah, this movie has a lot, more of a kind of character journey and some kind of bittersweet moments and things like that. And Scare Package is a little bit more of a meta project. My Scare Package segment is also a little bit gorier than Sorry About the Demon. And I really don't know where the line is for. I've told people with kids, I'm like, I think your kids could watch Sorry About the Demon, but then I think there's some kids that have seen it that maybe it was a little too scary for them. So I don't really know where it falls. I'd say like it's definitely less gory, but hopefully equally fun and funny and sweet, and and definitely like the same sensibilities coming from me and John Michael, who plays the lead in our Scare Package segment and the lead in this film as well.
When did you start writing? Sorry about the Demon.
It's weird because I started writing it. Actually, you know what? I found a journal the other day from 6 years ago. So that's when I started writing it. It was before, COVID and isolation, but I had this character that was kind of isolated in this house all by himself. And he was like baking to cope with his loneliness, all these things that kind of happened to people during COVID. And so when the movie got greenlit in 2020, it was kind of strangely relevant and topical, and people were looking for movies that kind of were like, very few cast members in a single location, and that's what this movie was, but it had nothing to do with where we were in time.
Yeah.
And so that it kind of, I'm really glad it actually worked out when it did, to like, kind of be a back burner project for a while and then come back to the foreground. So I feel like it's more relatable now than it was back then. when I first
Yeah.
wrote it.
So I think something interesting about Sorry About the Demon is how it's in that genre of like rom-com. So was there any reason that you like decided to make it that way, or is it just something within writing that it just sort of happened and you went for it?
Yeah, I think, well, the first idea was like, what if there was a movie kind of in the vein of Forgetting Sarah Marshall, but with like a haunted house and ghosts, and he's just too sad to leave. And that was kind of the thought process because I love that movie so much. And different character, different story, but you know, those kinds of ideas. So it kind of started with the rom-com specifically, and then kind of it turned into something else. But I think a big thing, I love horror movies, but I think there can sometimes be a or misconception with some people that aren't as familiar with the genre that horror movies don't always have great characters, or like, you know, even though that's not true, but sometimes people think that. And it's always very important to me to think about the characters in the horror movies and what they've gone through, and and I think kind of incorporating romantic comedy elements, you incorporate those romantic comedy um, you know, characters and character arcs and archetypes and stuff like that. So I think, you know, it's a really fun thing to explore these genre mashups in that way.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned Forgetting Sarah Marshall because I was going to ask what were some influences that you had when writing and making the film.
Yeah, that was one for sure. And what else? Oh, the Conjuring movies. I just love them so much. I know it's like, maybe that makes me sound very, I don't know. I want to say basic. I mean, but I think that they're just so masterfully made modern studio horror movies, and really, you know, have these wonderful set pieces. And that was something we built the whole set for this movie. So I really studied those Conjuring movies for like built sets, kind of established geography within that set, because it's like our first floor, you know, he walks up the stairs and there's nothing on the second floor, so you're trying to make sure that the audience is never disconnected with where the characters are in space. So I really tried to watch a lot of horror movies that had built set geography, and how to you know, work with that. That's kind of boring, so I'll stay to the creative things. I also watched The Innocents with Deborah, a great movie. This, The Orphanage, like a lot of these haunted house character pieces, and of course horror comedies like Shaun of the Dead and, you know, Tucker and Dale. All these great, you know,
Yeah.
genre mashups.
I definitely got the orphanage vibes from the house. That's one of my favorite horror movies of all time.
So good. Oh my goodness.
I always
Oh,
introduce it to people, and every single time, without fail, they start crying once it reaches the
oh.
end.
You know, another kind of weird deep cut thing we watched leading up to this was A Boy and a Samurai. Have you seen that?
No, I've never seen that.
Oh my gosh, I don't want to say why we watched it. Well, there's a lot of dessert making in our movie, and
Mm.
there's a lot of dessert making in that film as well. But that's all I'll say. But yeah. Anyways,
Okay, have you seen the menu? Talk about dessert
I have
making.
not. Okay, there's dessert making in it. I'm very excited to watch it. Is it a movie that's going to make me never want to eat again, or a movie that's going to make me really hungry?
See, I got very hungry watching
Okay,
it. And
I might.
it is so funny. Like I felt like when I was watching it, there's always the issue with like the trailers nowadays if you're either showing too much or it's not portraying the movie right. And going into it, I was like, oh, it's gonna be like a fun, like kind of silly movie from the trailer, and that is not at all what I got. And
Oh
it
my
is
gosh.
like planned comedy that is hilarious. Ralph Fiennes, is that his last name? Voldemort
Yeah.
is in it. He is, oh my, amazing performance. You have to see it.
I'm so excited. I loved the trailer. It's like there's some movies like Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. I think I ate 6 meals watching that movie. Like I had to pause it. I had to keep eating. I could see this being one of those experiences. But
Oh,
so
definitely.
there's
There's one
dessert.
meal in one meal in the movie Memories that that looked the best to me. Once
Oh
you
my
watch it,
gosh.
you'll say.
I'm excited. Cool.
But I wanted to talk to you about kind of the start of your career. What made you start making movies? What got you into horror? All that.
Yeah, I started off making short films and being very interested in, you know, writing and making movies, but at the time there weren't a lot of summer camps and things for me to do. at my age. And so I started to instead kind of get onto some film sets through the kind of local film community in Austin where I grew up. And so I would just end up like making fake blood or like PAing and shooting behind the scenes for these kind of independent film productions. And then just kind of being on set made me think, well, I can make my own feature film. And it's kind of that 12-year-old sense of you don't know what you're not capable of, so you do it, you just make it happen. And I didn't grow up with a lot of money or parents in the film industry. I had a film enthusiastic parents. Like my dad had worked in a video store and introduced me to a lot of great movies, and they liked movies a lot. But we were all kind of coming in like, well, what's the movie making world look like? And so they were just very kind and supportive of my dreams. And there's a documentary made about the process of me making my first film, which is called Pathogen, and it's a zombie movie. And then there's a documentary that was made about me doing that called Zombie Girl, the movie. I did not make that movie. And kind of instilling like all these ideas in me at a young age just made it a lifelong passion. So I just kept making movies, and as I got older and out of high school, it became more of a career, and then that's kind of been the journey through my adulthood ever since then. But starting very young, I looked like a pretty old kid, so I don't really look that different than I did back then. So it's always been kind of a challenge for me to like present myself as an adult because I started so young, and that was part of my identity as a filmmaker. And I've always gravitated towards stories about young people. Sorry About the Demon is my first like adult character. I need to stop saying adult movie because it's not an adult movie, but like adult characters, in a film. And but I do like to do these. It still has these coming of age elements because so much of my identity as a filmmaker also took place as I was coming of age. So I think that's always something I've gravitated towards.
Yeah, when you present a script, do they ever like recognize you and be like, "Wait, are you from the from Pathogen?" Like, or do you like lean into that and be like, "Listen, I'm kind of a superstar."
Oh no, never. No, but I guess I was on a meeting for this movie, and one of the producers, we met for the first time on Zoom, and he like held up a little like lobby card from, it was like a Pathogen or Zombie Girl or something. He's like, look, I saw this when you were a kid. And I didn't really know how to respond, so I think I just got very embarrassed. But yeah, it is like, I never changed my hair drastically. All my yearbook photos always look the same growing up. It's just, I need to do something that makes me look like crazy, I guess, to be an adult. But no.
I do have a few questions about Pathogen. First off, the effect right at the end, which this is spoilers. I'm gonna spoil Pathogen. Watch it.
Go for
it's
it.
Great. At the end, when the friend is killed, who's infected, what'd you do? How did you do it?
So my mom made a cast of his head very lovingly, just as being she had some enthusiasm for the kind of art side of film. So she helped me with a lot of things like that on the project. And so she cast the actor's head and slash my best actor slash childhood best friend, and made like little latex things on it. We put a green sheet over him when he laid down on the ground, and you can see, of course, like the plastic tarp we laid down to because we were in a grocery store. And then she went into Photoshop and kind of just keyed it out herself, and it was really just that was my mom's kind of big moment of the whole movie. It was this head, creating the head, removing the head from the body on the shot, and we still have the head. It's in a popcorn box. It will never be thrown away. Yes, so that was definitely my first introduction into like visual effects more than just like creating fake blood or like a little latex wound, and I learned a lot from my mom in that case.
Yeah, because when I was watching it the first time, I was like, oh, it'll be like a cutaway, and then maybe like El Shar walking away. I did not expect to see the head hit the floor.
I did not, it's interesting like what things you kind of do at that age, because I just had watched a lot of horror movies. I'm like, yeah, we gotta go like crazy and so and then things I probably wouldn't do as my sensibilities, as I've learned more about what my sensibilities are. And but then it's also very like pure in a way, just kind of these like kid ideas of horror and fun and goofiness, and like the movie is intentionally funny and it's unintentionally funny. It's kind of it's just like this weird mashup. And there are
Yeah.
things that I did not, consciously learn that made it into that movie. And then later I had to relearn as a filmmaker, like eye lines. Like sometimes an eye line would be pretty good in Pathogen. And then
Hmm.
later on I made a movie. It's like, well, the eye lines aren't right there. How did I do it, instinctively? So I feel like
Yeah.
there's always a lot to learn from those early projects about just kind of like your instincts and trusting your gut,
Hmm.
and also like, poking fun, not poking fun at yourself, but like, not taking yourself too seriously by looking at what you've made as a kid.
Yeah. Do you ever like look back and be like, oh, like I wish that I knew this back then?
There's definitely things I say and do in the documentary that I shake my head and say, "Oh my gosh, why didn't anyone stop me?" These people, they were filming it knowing I was making mistakes, and that makes good movies. But I think that, yeah, there for sure there are things I wish I could tell myself. But sometimes it's better to learn by messing up, and then you definitely never make a mistake again.
Hmm.
So you have to push those limits a little.
Yeah, and also I just love this is just something I would laugh at. Just the general calmness of everything between the kids the whole entire time. Like she's like, "All
Yes.
right, I'm gonna cut your head off."
It's funny because the AGFA, the re-release that went through the American Genre Archive, their description of the movie is kind of like this Austen like flip flop like teenager calmness, like it's kind of
Hmm.
like the vibe of like Dazed and Confused, kind of like lackadaisical. I don't know, but I think it's like very. I don't know where that came from, like why we all approached it that way, but we did.
Well, I also have to ask about the music, the
Mhm.
the music in the film. When you guys are in the house, and then the rock score just starts
Oh yeah.
playing. Did you hire someone to compose it? Was it like what did you do for that?
Yeah, that was we didn't have a composer for that project because I was not aware of the process at the time. So all the music in the movie comes from kind of just various sources, including like kind of a friend, like someone who's in the movie, her husband's sister's band is like composing that. That's just music they already had, and I cut the sequence to that song. So it was in my what I learned in that process was you don't, you put the music in later that fits with your edits. You don't have to edit to the music unless that's the plan, originally. But for that type of project, that's what we did. So of course I thought that was awesome when I was there.
Yeah.
I was like, look at this, like cool rock music. But it was, definitely a learning experience edit wise for me.
Yeah, and then you went on to make the retelling
Mm.
after that, and then My Sucky Teen Romance, which unfortunately I didn't get the chance to watch that one. I tried to watch a bunch
Oh
before
no,
this
that's
interview, but
okay.
I didn't get to watch that one. But I did want to ask about it. So when you were making My Sucky Teen Romance, uh, was it like similar people that were involved that were like, let's produce another movie, or did you have to get all like a whole new production team, or?
Yeah. So the retelling is like a movie that and kind of relates to this one. That was kind of like the build up to my Teen Romance, because this was a movie like kind of the most growing pains type of project I had between Pathogen and Teen Romance, where a lot of things went wrong. I was not like I was kind of falling out of love with making movies. Like I felt I was having panic attacks when I'm like 14 years old. I'm like, what's going on here? But it kind of, it centered me a little bit at the end of the day, and it wasn't a project I was like super thrilled with or felt really in touch with my vision the way even like Pathogen felt. And so when I made my Teen Romance, I was looking back at like I love horror comedy. Like I want this to have horror elements and comedy elements, which I thought Pathogen had. The retelling was a super serious, like, oh, I'm gonna be a serious like horror filmmaker, and that was not my vibe. And so it was a nice stepping stone to get, even though we had these wonderful people that worked on it and supported the vision. And I think like a lot of those folks from the retelling and Pathogen did end up, on my Teen Romance, which we made when I was a senior in high school, or like between junior and senior of high school, and in the summer break. And but that was also the first project where we had like adults coming on board that were from the Austin film scene. By adults, I mean people in like their early 20s,
Yeah.
like, you know. But I, you know, I was like, oh, the grown-ups are here. And so but we had this mixture of teens and adults, and we were making the movie very quickly in this hotel. And it had, you know, at the time Twilight was coming out, and I really wanted to show something like there could be like teen vampires that are really fun and like not, I don't like, you know, everything that's being marketed at me through the kind of Twilight fandom franchise. You know, I was enjoying those movies because I was a teenage girl, and of course I was into it. But I also wanted to do something more unique to my vision as a filmmaker that was also kind of, you know, taking advantage of that moment in pop culture. And so that's kind of where that started. And it really kind of established this tone I really liked, and these character, like how to kind of incorporate characters and horror comedy all together. And then, yeah, that's kind of what happened there.
So from there, you had a little segment from Chilling Visions, Five Senses of Fear. So when did that happen? Were you in college at the time, or where
Yeah.
did you attend college?
Oh no, I did. I'm like, yeah. I was like, wait, I didn't go to college. No, I started working out of high school at this production company in Austin called Rooster Teeth, but I only worked there for a very short period of time. And while I was there, I got the job for the Chiller project, and then I also we've been doing Kickstarters and kind of gathering financing for a feature coming of age movie called Grow Up Tony Phillips, and those two projects happened back to back. So I shot the Chiller segment in Connecticut, and then I came back to Austin and then shot Grow Up Tony Phillips basically. And so I was thinking, oh, you know, I'm right out of high school, like the year out of high school, and I'm thinking this is gonna be life now. I get to like just do like projects back to back, and I'm working all the time making movies. And of course, like projects last a very long time, and you know, take a lot, you know, like Sorry About the Demon was 6 years of a journal entry into a movie. So
Yeah.
it's like, you know, I was not aware of that yet. But yeah, it was just they were putting together this horror anthology for a channel called Chiller at the time, and they were all based on your five senses, and I got touch, and it was fun.
Hmm. And then from there, with Grow Up Tony Phillips, would you say that's your first like kind of non-horror film?
Yeah, and I was leaning more into the coming of age side of my projects for a few years, including Grow Up Tony Phillips. And we had this actor that had been in my movie since Pathogen, Tony, and I just thought he had such a special energy, and I wanted to create something for him, kind of like feeling like you're between childhood and adulthood. And but we did have, so we had Tony, and then we have this other actor, AJ Bowen, who does a lot of horror films. So it's really cool to see him, you know, take his skills into just a dramedy. And
Yeah.
it was wonderful. I still look back on that shoot as being just a great time, and we had a lot of time just because now you don't have that much time. But it was a really great team making that movie, and creating this kind of Halloween fall vibe with it. I learned a lot about like color palettes and production design on that one. It was really fun.
So would you say like, as a filmmaker, like in your head, you think, oh, this is like my favorite movie that I made, or this is the best one?
I always hope it's going to be whatever I've made most recently. And that's not always the case, but I dreamt very fondly on that one. I think they all have things that I really, you know, remember very, you know, either like as a great lesson, even if a project wasn't as fun as another one, or as just a really great time, like learning from other people. I love the collaborative nature of film. And so that's normally what I'm thinking about, or like, you know, oh, this really great performer we had, or this great producer, this great cinematographer. Like there's all these wonderful people, and they're not always able to work on the same projects, but that's a great way to meet new people and to bring them into the fold. So I think each project has those unique people that make it special.
So did any of those people help you with Coin Heist?
Okay, actually, yes. It's funny that you asked that because the sound people from Grow Up Tony Phillips that I met, they were identical twins, sound mixer and sound and boom operator, and we desperately needed people. We're shooting in New York. I didn't know anybody on the cast and crew, And I called them. I said, "Please, will you come to New York City and like shoot this movie with me?" And they did. They drove their car up and shot the movie with me. And it was so special to have them there because everyone was not, I hadn't worked with any of these people before, and it's just
Mm.
great to have friends that they say, heck yeah, I'll get in the car, let's go, let's do it. And it was really wonderful, and they were just great at their jobs, and so that was nice. Aside from that, Coin House was an entirely different team, and it was a little tricky to navigate. I think enough time has passed now where I'm a little more open about it and kind of the challenges of it.
Mm.
But I really wanted to do the best I could with the coming of age elements again. Like I just thought if I can do a good job with some nice character moments, like that's what I'm going to focus on. And the other challenging aspects of making the movie, it's like they were a little bit out of my hands, so just
Mm.
doing my best.
Yeah, how did you get involved in the Coin Heist project?
Yeah, I there was a company that had this book, and they had a bunch of books that they had adapted them from old screenplays and they turned them into books, and then they were turning them back into movies. It was a very interesting model. And so Coin Heist was originally a script written in the 90s, turned into a young adult book. And then I got called for it because my last project was a young, was Script Tony Phillips with coming of age themes. And then I wrote the script, and then it got taken to Netflix, and then Netflix was greenlighting a lot of projects at that time, so the movie became a Netflix movie, and it was really cool to have that experience working with Netflix and working in New York. That was really fun. Being from Texas was a very different vibe for me, but I loved it because part of my family is from Philadelphia, so I have this weird like Texan and Philadelphian energy
Yeah.
in my life. And yeah, so it was in a lot of ways it was really fun, and some other ways it was challenging. It's like a diplomatic way of saying that, but you have to deal with that in the industry, and there were a lot of really wonderful people and wonderful things about it as well. So it just there's just ups and downs with everything.
Yeah. And then from there, you went on to the was it the digital series next after the Hold to Your Best Self, or was it
Yeah.
VHS?
So we did Hold to Your Best Self, and that was with the same company that had these scripts that they were turning into books and then back into movies. They also had this digital web series division, and so they let me do another coming of age. It all takes place in one night from different perspectives. So each episode is a different perspective on the night, like Rashomon prom, somebody called it that. And yeah, so that was a really fun, unique challenge. That's where we met John Michael, who ended up starring in like everything I've done since then. He's playing a very serious character in that. And then we learned he was so funny. And then we were like, let's, use that. So I wrote the cold open segment of Scare Package for him. And we actually shot our Scare Package segment before the VHS horror short for Snapchat.
Ah.
And because we came off of shooting the Scare Package segment, and then I went to LA to like finalize the I don't know, the work on that job to like make sure we could do it, and then came back and we shot the VHS thing.
That's awesome. So I gotta ask, with Sorry About the Demon, are there any future projects that you have planned after that?
Yes. Hoping to do this Christmas horror movie that has teenagers in it, so probably John Michael will not be in that. We'll see. We'll see what happens. um, but yes, it's a Christmas teen horror project, and we're working on getting that off the ground right now.
That's awesome. Shudder or
I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. It's just early stages of those conversations right now, but I think it'd be really fun to do. And I mean, I have a Halloween movie. I'd love to have a Christmas movie. Just
Mhm.
hit up all the holidays.
Yeah. So I gotta ask. I know this is usually a hard question, but top three horror movies.
Oh my gosh, no.
Your favorite. Out of all, like,
Favorites. Oh my God. Um, well, I have to say at least one horror comedy. So I'll say Shaun of the Dead because it's such a wonderful movie and it's in the space I love to work in. Great characters. So I'll say that. And I will say uh Night of the Living Dead because it really influenced me into wanting to work on horror movies and independent horror movies. And I will say something else. Trying to think of like different era. I don't want to like stay too like recent, but I got like a Got an older movie in there. Oh, I don't know. And also I can see like our Zoom countdown as well. It's like stressing me out.
I know Zoom's
Um,
trying to get us off like in Host when the
yeah,
countdown
yeah.
starts to that.
I'll say The Thing because I feel like I saw a headline about John Carpenter today. He's such a wonderful filmmaker, so put that in
Mhm.
there.
All great choices.
Wish I could throw out something really, really obscure and cool, but it's the great thing about horror. There's so many great movies that are made for a lot of money, like The Conjuring, and then there's these really little gems that are made for not a lot of money, but have really great, interesting ways of exploring the genre. And that's like, it's why I like coming of age movies and teen movies a lot, but I always come back to horror because it's just my favorite space to watch as a viewer and to work in as a filmmaker.
Hmm. So, are there any references to those movies, possibly in Sorry About the Demon?
Definitely Shaun of the Dead. I would say breakup, figuring out who you are in your adulthood. And they're demon. Oh, you know what? I should have said Evil Dead because that was a huge influence on Sorry About the Demon as well.
I was
But
gonna say, I was waiting. I was like, oh, she's gonna say the Evil Dead. She has to say the Evil Dead, but
okay, well, I'll say like The Thing has some influences on my newest projects. That's probably why I had been thinking about it. Oh my gosh! Now these movies are coming to me because I was like, oh, The Faculty. That was such a huge influence on me as well. The Faculty was like the first R-rated movie I saw, and it kind of introduced these like fun horror sci-fi elements into the teen space. But yes, Sam Raimi is a huge influence on my love of horror comedy, and I can't get enough of his work. So,
he's
um,
great. He's
yes.
amazing.
What was the other one I said? Night of the Living Dead. Huge influence on Pathogen for sure. I don't know if it really shows up in Sorry About the Demon, but Evil Dead does a lot. Like a lot
Hmm.
of my love of that Sam Raimi movie shows up in Sorry About the Demon for sure.
Yeah, and what advice would you give to any young filmmakers who are thinking about making a movie or going into film?
Yeah, I love that question because I was given advice as a young filmmaker that so it's not even my advice, but it's what I love to pass along, which is that don't let anyone tell you what you can't do. Like you can explore your limits and you can persevere and you can get it done. Always learn from whatever you make, whether you're happy with it or not, and you just have to keep going. And so just trust yourself. Don't let other people tell you who you are. Is kind of the part of that.
Awesome. And last question: what is a goal that you have for yourself this year? It might be in the month or in
Oh my
this entire
gosh.
year.
That's
Anything.
a great like January question. Um, I would say, just to my goal would be to just get the next project off the ground. It's like taxiing right now. So hopefully that would be the goal. If not that, I want to write another script. I think that writing and expressing your creativity any way you can, whether you're making it on set or you're doing it on your own, just writing a script is it's just a great way to channel your thoughts and feelings about life. So if I could do it on set, great. If I can't, I want to write something new. That's my goal.
All right, and I actually thought of one more question that I wanted to ask. Dream actor or actress to have in a new movie that you would be making?
I never have an answer to this question, but I do now because I was just thinking last night, like, who I would love to meet one day is Carol Kane. I just love her so much. I think she's
Mm.
awesome. But I've never been able to answer that question. I'm always like, I don't know. But I just watched the original When a Stranger Calls, and
Hmm.
I don't. She's just so great. And then I saw her on an episode of Girls. I was watching that show, and she just keeps popping up in things like I'm watching, and I just love. I'll watch anything she's in.
Yeah.
So that's my answer. She's awesome.
Oh, she's amazing. I love her. But unfortunately, Zoom has decided that the countdown has started.
Yeah,
We gotta wrap
I
things
know.
up.
I know. I could feel my answer stop making as much sense as I saw the countdown in the corner. Well,
I was hoping I was safe because I was like, all right, I'm gonna do this off my university Zoom and like hopefully this will be good. No.
no Zoom is safe from the countdown. Well,
Yeah,
thanks so
I
much for
need to look
having me.
around, make sure there's no like demons gonna come out like in host.
Oh my gosh. Well, this has been so fun, and thank you for asking such detailed questions about the project. That was really nice.
Well, thank you for giving great answers and for being here. I've loved talking to you, and I hope to talk again soon. I can't wait to watch Sorry About the Demon, which everyone you should go watch Sorry About the Demon, get a Shudder membership. There's 7-day free trials, 30-day free trials. Just get it and watch this movie. And is there anything else you would like to plug? Like Instagram, Twitter, TikTok? I don't know what other social medias.
I don't even know what TikTok is. No, I know what it is, but I won't use it. No, just I hope people will enjoy it if they watch it. It's a silly movie, and my goal is just to, make someone smile that day if you watch it. So if you smile, I'm happy. So, yeah, I hope people see it.
All right. Thank you again for being here. I've really loved talking to you.
Thank you, and let's be in touch.
Yes, definitely. We're going to kick it back to, I guess now, future Ryan after the interview. I hope you guys enjoyed that interview with Emily Hagins. And of course, thank you so much for coming on the channel. I'm really excited to be able to talk to you again, and I'm excited to review Sorry About the Demon. In terms of channel uploads, there won't be a consistent schedule. It'll just basically be whenever I have the time or have a movie that I really want to talk about. So I hope that you stay tuned for that. But let's flash forward to the next reveal.